Hello everyone, we are back with the 5th episode of Road to Super Bowl, season number 2. Here we are today with the team that had number 5 pick, that's LA Chargers. So, in my opinion, Chargers kind of won the offseason in terms of you cannot really disappoint expectations when there are really none. So, is this the way that will allow Chargers to finally not charge it up? Let's find out together, shall we? So let's start with the draft, how they did in the draft, then we go to their offense, then to their defense, and kind of talk about where their ceiling is for the season, where their floor is, and how this sets them up well into the future, or not that well. So I said they had number 5 pick, and here I say number 4. I'm sorry, it's a mistake, it should be number 5. So for you who are new to this with draft, we see guys as they are with their current ability, in my opinion. So DS means decent starter, GB means good backup, and we have solid backups, amazing starters, good starters, important starters, elite starters, etc. Spoiler alert, you won't see any elite starters with the draft players, right? Then this is kind of my ranking, is what I feel like is general ranking of this pick, where he went to college, and what was his 40-yard dash. Is also where he was drafted overall and in which round. So the Chargers started the draft with number 5 pick, and there was kind of a look that they would go for offensive tackle, most likely Joey Alt, despite a lot of fans would probably be hoping for an elite wide receiver like Malik Neighbors or Ron Odunze. And the reason for it was, one, they have really shitty wide receivers. B, they kind of had 2 starting calibers tackles. So bringing another one felt like a comfort that you don't necessarily have when you have so many holes in your squad. So it should have not been a lock. I feel like they should have been out there, kind of exploring what the trade opportunities were. Like, for example, if Titans were like, yeah, we really want Joey out, we are really able to pay you our 7th pick and our 2nd rounder, would I be really opposing that trade for the Chargers? Instead of Joey out, you would get Mike Neighbors, and you would have 2 very early 2nd round picks where you could address the O-line or perhaps some other holes like cornerback or perhaps some other offensive linemen, or even like let's just double tap into wide receivers. I mean, under different regime, I could assume that would have happened, but with Jim Harbaugh becoming a new head coach, it was kind of clear that they would go with Joey Alt to try to win in the trenches, really try to build up their O-line, their D-line, and really try to pull it up there. So under different coach, under different regime, I would believe in some situations like that. With Jim Harbaugh, I was pretty certain that they would pick Joey Alt, which they did. I cannot still say I don't like this pick. I like it actually very much as an A+, because he is as much as bust-proof offensive lineman as I've seen in like last 5 years. Like, he would be top 3, top 5 in terms of prospects out there. And taking that, I mean, you cannot really say no to that prospect. So Joey Alt, really like this pick, though. Do I feel like there were equally interesting opportunities for you? Definitely. Then in 2nd round, they chose Lat McConkey. One thing that kind of stops me from ranking Lat like higher, perhaps like the general public does, is some of the injury concerns that I have about him or that are out there about him. So in a room where you really don't have guys, I would perhaps prefer someone that I'm like kind of certain that's going to play 17 games. But still, really nice pick. I think he's going to be successful here. And they kind of went, well, we have our guy in terms of QB. He should be able to elevate perhaps less talented wide receiver. though, like, I mean, less talented. I'm comparing Vlad McConkey to Mike Neighbors, right? Not like that Vlad has legs potential. He really doesn't. And then another really fantastic pick, Junior Colson. I think the best linebacker in this draft, and guy that obviously played under Jim Harbaugh, will absolutely help to just set the tone, understand what Jim wants to be. I think he's going to be starter this season. He might as well be a guy that might even have a mic because, you know, the connections that there are out there for him. What is there to say? Like, how nobody exploited this? I think it was, again, kind of luck that they would try to get him. And the fact that they were able to do that without paying for it, they just had to wait, is kind of unbelievable. Is it like nobody wants to go on bad side of Jim Harbaugh because, you know, he has his brother in the NFL, he has a lot of coaches and etc. that played under him, so perhaps even having such a persona in the building will allow you that nobody wants to really like exploit you hard in the draft. Well, I would definitely try to do that because this just made so much sense for the Chargers. How really good player. I think that is value. I would expect him to be like 55, 50th pick of this draft, not 70, 69. And the connection. So really, the first 3 picks, I think they've nailed with like slight worries about Vlad McConkey, but other than that, absolutely nailed this part of the draft. Then, with Justin Eboigbe, taking a swing on this guy, I do not mind. Perhaps not necessarily the position that you need because you have more problems in interior where that's not necessarily where he is at his best. So that's where I'm like putting a minus to like what would be a B grade. That's like, yeah, everything kind of fits. With Tahib still, I just don't know how they saw him and saw Cam Hart and say like still is better because they picked him over Cam Hart. But luckily for them, Cam Hart was still available 3 picks later. They were able to take both of them. I believe that Cam Hart has a chance to be successful in the NFL. With Tahib still, I don't see that. I really don't see that happening. But hopefully I will be wrong. I wish nothing bad to these young guys. And then, what you can say, Kimani Vidal, he will complete the really weird to interesting running back room. He will have a chance to definitely emerge as a starter here, which is really good. And yeah, I kind of like this pick. I think everything is kind of okay with him. And the only knock on this could be like you already have like 3 running backs that could be on the depth chart behind, in front of Kimani Vidal. So why are you not spending picks on someone else? Then you go with Brandon Rice. The one thing you can say about him is Jerry Rice's son. So if anything goes really well in terms of bloodline, he can emerge as a really nice player. But have you seen that in terms of college? No. And I'm sorry, Cornelius Johnson, I did not put your face in. That's my bad. But a guy that is familiar with Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. Okay, so overall, their draft really well orchestrated. I think they've addressed not necessarily the positions that they've needed the most. That's where, you know, slight concerns emerge, but they definitely addressed a lot of positions with strength and with value picks. So overall, one of the better drafts out there. Though, unlike some, I don't feel like Chargers had like top 5 draft in this class. I am not that high on this. Now let's talk about offense and what the Chargers are going to look like under Greg Roman. So who is going to be Greg Roman in this iteration of Chargers? We've seen him with Ravens. Well, Harbaugh. They just do kind of exchange coaches and have coaches from one end to another. Like, he is really good designing runs. He really showed not much in terms of designing really good like pass schemes for obviously Lamar Jackson with the Ravens. That's why essentially he was let go and he was replaced, and Lamar won an MVP. So there's a worry about that. But he went to university for 1 year. And from what I heard out there, he really tries to improve his scheme, tries to go like, yeah, I want to be absolute premium offensive coordinator in terms of rush, which I think he can be, but I do understand I need to improve passing schemes. So I believe when I see it, but I'm not skeptical towards this hire that it can work. Yeah, like, do I rank him high? No. Do I feel like this is necessarily going to fail? No. So we will see what he has to work with in terms of weaponry, passing and run, and in terms of O-line, pass blocking and run blocking. So in terms of weaponry, the conversation really starts and all the good things kind of ends with Justin Herbert. He is top 5, top 7 quarterback in the league. I'm not going to change my mind on this. There is something that stops me from putting him to that elite category, whether it's there are still some things that frustrate me about his game, or his lack of actually winning when it matters, in terms of winning at least one playoff game, and how is he going to thrive in the new system, how is he going to come back from injury. So there are some concerns about Justin Herbert, but I'm still like going to defend this guy because I really am a huge fan, and I do believe it's absolutely justified that he is going to be one of the like highest paid QBs in league history, and obviously right now he deserves that. And I can't help but cheer for this guy. Easton Stick actually surprised me. He looked serviceable, much more than I would expect when Justin went down last year. As a backup, I think you can do definitely worse than Easton Stick. You can do better, of course, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this room, and this is obviously the biggest strength by far of this weaponry. Because now we go and talk about this running back room. And then they went and stole some injury-prone guys from Ravens with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. Guys that, if they were able to stay healthy, their careers would be absolutely different. But for both of them, for J.K. Dobbins even more than for Gus Edwards, it's just they just cannot stay. And ranking them was really hard because it's like how do you not put like injury concern into this? I would say when they are out there, this is how I view them as their ability. But man oh man, they can go down like week 1 and I won't be shocked. And I would be absolutely sorry because it's just heartbreaking to always work yourself up back there to the playing form, actually show some promise, and then go down. And I feel like for both of them, it kind of starts to happen that they are slowing down because of those injuries, whether it's like it's just taking a toll on your body, or even like for the mental side, like when you cannot trust your body, when you are afraid almost to make that jump cut because you are worried that your body just won't allow it, you will lose a step. So definitely a big question mark. As of right now, they should not be a problem for you. They are quality players, but how long they will play, how many snaps they will play for you. Behind them, you have GMaty Vidal, whom they drafted, and Isaiah Spiller. I feel like GMaty Vidal is most likely their number 3 option, and I won't be surprised if he emerges as their number 1 back as early as like week 5, week 6, whether it's Gus or JK goes down with injuries, or they just don't look great after injury. So with them, do expect that their grades, if they would, they have really large potential to go down and to go up. Well, maybe you hope, but at this point, it's more of a hope than a certainty. So definitely not an exciting running back room. What helps with their run is Justin Herbert's ability to run. Though again, Greg Roman, despite designing very well runs, I'm not saying he will necessarily use Justin Herbert the most efficient way. He will use him, but he is not Lamar Jackson, right? So that's your run game. And what's your passing options? Well, easy to say, there aren't many. Quentin Johnston, I still have as a decent starter, though his performance last year definitely would disagree with me. Why I still have trust in him? Well, first of all, the situation with the Chargers kind of self-imploded last year. You've seen that the team kind of stopped being behind Brandon Staley. In that you have Justin Herbert going down and you have bad start. So it's really hard for you to gain any confidence when you know the change is coming, when you are not getting the ball from your elite QB or your amazing QB, and you started poorly, and there is this huge narrative you are a bust. Pretty much the narrative was out there week 6 that he's going to be a bust. For what it's worth, I feel like he was better later in the season, though he was still really bad. The drop issues were there, and still I feel like I can attribute that to my internal turmoil, and I still believe in Quentin Johnston. Is he the best wide receiver right now in this roster? No, I think that's Joshua Palmer. But in terms of potential, he and Led McConkey are the hope for these Chargers to not be pretty much the worst wide receiver trio when we approach week 6, week 8, where some of the potentials could start to show up. Joshua Palmer, it's you are waiting for him to become better, and he just didn't. Even last year when Mike Williams was down, he had the opportunity, he did not really step up in my opinion. So really not much to say in terms of floor for these guys, and you just hope that Justin Herbert will elevate them. But when you combine this with Greg Roman's last NFL passing schemes, not really something you are super excited about. Then DJ Shark, kind of reliable option, guy that should see a lot of the field because you kind of expect that at least one of the Quentin Johnston and Led McConkey could struggle, especially early. So he should see a lot of snaps. They should rotate probably mainly with Quentin Johnston. But the hope is Quentin will emerge as a guy and takes this spot. But we'll see. It's definitely nothing bad to have DJ Shark as your kind of 2nd to 4th best wide receiver. It's really bad that he could be 2nd, but if he was the 4th, it's not really that bad. Baron Rice, that's a swing for the future. And then we go to the tight end room, and all of these guys are kind of adequate group. Neither one of them is anything special, has potential to be anything special. Perhaps Donald Parham, if he stays away from injuries. Once upon a time, I was a huge fan of Will Disley and a believer that he could emerge as tight end number 1 for Seahawks. That did not happen. Also, injuries played a part. Either of them should not be horrendous, but this is not a group that excites you at all. So they should play hard. They should come up with some plays. And they should be 26, 27 best tight end room in the league with really close to no potential to improve that ranking. But in terms of floor, they will at least give you something. And obviously they are deep. They have 3 tight ends that they can play in the NFL. So that's for what it's worth, that's not bad. Now we go towards the offensive line, and we start with tackles, and that's definitely, with Justin Herbert, this is the conversation you want to have when you are a Chargers fan. Russian Slater, I don't think he has necessarily the body, the arms, length, etc. to be an elite starter, really, like to emerge as that top guy. But to be graded as an elite guy, in my opinion, you don't have to be Trent Williams. You don't have to be that guy. There could be elite and elite, right? I have, again, like I said, Justin Jefferson is better, significantly better, is better than DJ Moore in my opinion. But that doesn't prohibit me to call DJ Moore elite. So I think Russian Slater can still emerge as that elite guy, but not necessarily the penetrable and this category of really true top one tackle in the league. That's not in his future, I think, but you have an amazing left tackle, franchise left tackle. What is there? What more do you want? Then you had Trey Pipkins, who I think is absolutely serviceable offensive tackle. I think he's going to be the best backup in the league for this position. So that's where I was like, I would explore trades for the number 5 pick, because right now you should not see that much of a difference between Joe Alt and Trey Pipkins, but like week 4, week 6 going forward, like obviously Joe Alt can emerge as truly an elite player. Like it could be 2 years from now when Chargers have the best tackles duo in the league, and I don't think anybody would be surprised. So I understand that. Trey Pipkins is a luxury that if you are going for a Super Bowl this year, you should not allow yourself to have, because you have other holes. But that's not really the case. So getting Joe out, putting him out there, and have an insurance policy in case he goes down or he struggles, and you don't have to like really dip into his confidence if he just isn't up to speed for some reason, which I really don't think is going to happen. So really amazing tackle trio, and definitely a nice story for this O-line, because it gets significantly worse when we look inside. Jamari Saleh, Zion Johnson, and Bradley Bozeman should probably be starters as of right now for this team, and like you hope, you can definitely hope that, especially for a guy like Zion Johnson, there's still a chance for him to improve. And there is, like, I think he can be as good as impactful starter. For those two guys next to him, you are just kind of getting what you are getting. Well, the guys that you ideally, in absolutely ideal situation, you don't need to play, but that's never the case in NFL. You have to have some spots where you just have adequate players that will play up, and I think for both of them it's true, but they lack true strength in here. So they pretty much, in terms of O-line, they have really excellent tackle, Russian Slater, you have huge expectations for Joey Alt, and then you have kind of workable starters. So that combines, like, gives you like middle of the pack in terms of O-line. So that would sum up this offense. I'm really interested how Justin Herbert will buy into Jim Harbaugh, will buy into Greg Roman offense. And he is, to me, like lately, we've seen Deshaun Watson trade, we've seen Russell Wilson trade. If there's close to elite QB, or like, with Deshaun Watson, like it's up to debate, and obviously Russell Wilson post his Seahawks days also, but guy that is viewed to, like, we trade for you and you should be able to help us win Super Bowl. I think Justin Herbert is kind of on top of my list of guys that might actually get traded. I would not be surprised if we are sitting here before like 2 years from now and Justin Herbert plays for a different team because he just doesn't fit well with this new offense. Perhaps he doesn't buy as hard in Jim Harbaugh. And I would say probably they could sit there in those 2 years and think like, well, if we can get ransom for him, let's just reset this thing, because he's here 7-8 years, hasn't won a playoff game, which definitely could be very well reality still for Chargers in 2 years. And we like Jim Harbaugh, so let's go. And also, I feel like Justin Herbert's image at this point should still be, yeah, I'm really top guy. I just don't have necessary support around me. We are trying to run the ball instead of pass the ball. I'm available. Let's just get me, and we're gonna win Super Bowl. So teams that I can see trading up for him: Seahawks, Rams, Jets. Perhaps Steelers, but I don't really see that happening. Perhaps Giants, but that's like, it's hard to propose a Super Bowl opportunity out there. But I feel like he is on the top of my list of really close to an elite or an elite quarterbacks that might actually get traded. Do I think it's likely? No, I think it's like 10 to 15% that this would happen. But it's definitely much more than I have for like guys like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. There is a chance that this won't work out, and clash between like the head coach and quarterback will result in Justin Herbert leaving, just as it was pretty much with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And with Deshaun Watson, there was obviously other reasons. So let's now shift towards the defense, where they will have Jesse Minter overseeing this defense. Guy, again, like worked with Harbaugh family, and obviously coming from Michigan. Jim knows what he should expect of him. I just cannot rank him like super high because he never called plays in NFL. He's very young, but again, I do expect him to work out here. But as of right now, just as with the players, I rank those guys on what I believe is their current ability. And when I have not seen you calling plays, it's just hard to put anything higher than like C-, which is actually a decent grade for Jesse Minter. Again, for what he has to work with, is like D-line plus linebackers. Overall, I think it's C-. We divided with pass rush and run defense. This is one of the teams that really has this split like high. It's interesting that for Jim Harbaugh's led team, your run defense kind of absolutely sucks, as we are going to get to that. Kind of interesting that they stick with Joey Bosa, stick with Khalil Mack, and did not do anything to improve their defensive line, especially that interior. Interesting. That's what I'm going to say for this one. Also, where like kind of on one hand you invest highly in Joey out, on the other you just don't address this. But this team had so many holes that, like, while I expected it, I'm not like super surprised that it did not happen. Then for what he has to work with with his secondary, overall it's actually quite a nice group, led by safeties, and cornerbacks are kind of meh. So let's check these guys out, shall we? So we start with edge duo of Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, let's start with him. Again, obvious huge injury concerns. He's already on an injury report, not really certain to play week 1. It's unfortunate. The amazing starter for him is really close to going down, perhaps even 2 tiers if he continues to struggle to stay on the field. And even when he's out there, it's not like he is his former self, like he is slowing down. So definitely a guy that you need to watch and see if he is more of a name out there rather than a player. I root for him, I like him, but you have to face reality, right? Also, for like defensive players or like defensive linemen, you have PFF grade, their pass rush grade, their run defense grade, amount of snaps they played, amount of sacks they got, and amount of stops. And then on the other side, you have Khalil Mack. And dude, what a season it was for Khalil Mack. Like, did he look like his 7 year younger self? Like, very close to that. Like, he was absolutely excellent. Okay, most of the his absolutely excellent games came against like absolutely shitty offensive lines. So you have to have that in mind. But still, when I watched the other games, he was still forced to be reckoned with. So you hope this will stay, and if he repeats this performance, man, do I think about putting him in an elite category again? Maybe. But for right now, amazing is absolutely good enough for him. But he was playing like true top 7, top 9 edge guy last year. That was who he was last season, and I don't think that's debatable. And that's for a position that is really heavy with talent out there in the league. So he was really exceptional last season. And it kind of still is good when we talk about the rest of this edge, because you have veteran Rod Dupree to like give you perhaps some nice confidence in your edge number 3 if or when Joey Bosa goes down, because your number 3 guy is Tui Perlotu, who had really good first season in the NFL, exceptional run defender, which is a bit weird, like given that he doesn't have necessarily the biggest body frame for for an edge guy. Like he is both up, but I did not see him to be so exceptional against the run, and it kind of sucks that your best run defenders are from the edge as we go towards inside, and that's where their run defense is really going to struggle. But with Joey Bosa, who like tries, but perhaps you want him to become more pass rush specialist and like really not throw his body out there with run defense, I think they could really figure out nice rotations for these guys, trying to keep Joey Bosa healthy while not really losing perhaps anything in terms of the quality that they have out there. So one of the best edge room in the league, really deep. And then you have Justin Herbert B, that is like kind of flirting, like is he going to play inside, is he going to be playing an edge? I would say that they are swinging for more of a free tag. He obviously cannot play nose. Will he be successful? Well, at least they are trying, because their interior is wow, that's ugly, and that's ugly. Like Morgan Fox is their best player, and he cannot run defend for life of him. That's like he's decent starter because he has some pressure move, he can generate pressure, but if I was ranking him only strictly for his run defense, he would be like a solid backup, so he's not stopping the run. Puna Ford, once upon a time, was a player that I absolutely loved with Seahawks. There's some images of him like where the dress just cannot cover the sheer mass of Puna, but kind of similar to Will Disley, it never transcended to anything more than kind of good backup, decent starter, kind of in and out from the lineup. Hope he's not your starter type of player, and also like his run defense for how he looks is not as good as it should be. And then you have Tito Ogbonia, who right now is set up as a starter, and man, oh man, that's really a problem. So this is really bad room. They just a couple days ago they've tried to address it. Brought TR Card, veteran like 5th year guy from Tennessee and Houston. I mean, he is kind of Puna Ford quality. I don't think he's even like Morgan Fox in terms of that. He could be their best run defender, which is really sad, but at least they are bringing another body into the mix. But the teams should really have their hand with this interior and just run through this. And when you have your best defenders on the edge, like they can help, but they, like if they want to pass rush or they need to run defense. So if they all run defense, then you don't have generate any pass rush. And if you really need them to absolutely help with your run defense to at least not be, some team that you can go and make 7 yards a carry, then their quarterback is going to have a day with you. So really, this line is a problem. Even though you have really freaking nice edge trio out there, or even like Bud Dupree, I kind of like. Now let's switch to linebackers. Though this is one of the worst linebacker rooms as of right now in the league. Denzel Perryman is your best guy. He has injury concerns, and even when he plays, it's not like he is anything special. Like for linebackers, we added cover stats for his PFF grade and his tackling ability, like how many tackles he does, which is more valuable for linebackers than sacks and stops, obviously. So he, as your number one guy, you really kind of hope that Junior Colson emerges as the guy that you trust and hope and believe that he is, and he is going to be a leader of this linebacker room like within the first season. And then there are some younger players in Nick Niemann and Diane Hanley, who I don't have here, who you trust that maybe they will accompany Junior or that Denzel can stay healthy. But as of right now, this room is not good. The one good thing about them is they are better run defenders than I wouldn't say that the interior of the defensive line, because they are 80 pounds heavier, but they are better run defenders than they are coverage players. So at least in the area that you are really struggling with, they can provide some help. But still, run defense for this team is an absolute abysmal problem. Now let's check the secondary, and we start with safety room. I'm sorry, first of all I have to address the Alohi Gilman picture. I just could not resist. When I clicked delete the background and the head of Bronco player just stayed there. I'm just sorry, I could not I could not resist myself, because this just feels it just looks really funny to me. Nothing that would suggest that he should be ripping heads off. Yeah, let's take this out of the way. So this room obviously starts with Derwin James, who had 2 or 3 years where from best safety in the league, where he was kind of in that conversation. He looked well, he's good, but he's nothing special. How much was it Brandon Stanley? I hope a lot, because I really love Derwin James, and I'm super excited about how Jesse Minter is going to use him. There is a possibility of trying to turn Derwin James into Kyle Hamilton, kind of playing without the position, sometimes being safety, sometimes being linebackers, even some snaps for the edge. Derwin James has the athleticism to do it. Will they go into that? I'm not sure. But man oh man, would I like to see that, because I want Derwin James to be successful. I really wish this guy nothing but good things. I really like his play style. Then Alohi Gilman, he was actually a better safety last year. He played his ass off. He was really good. Can he repeat that? If so, I feel like we are looking at as early as kind of week 4, week 5, good starter for sure. And end of the season, he can definitely end up as an impactful starter for me. There is definitely the potential for him. I just want to see more before I grade him up, but he is really knocking on the door of good starter for me. JT Woods as a backup, you hope he doesn't seize the field very much, and that's where Derwin James as Kyle Hamilton kind of goes away as an idea, because they kind of don't have a really reliable second safety. And given Justin Simmons signed with the Falcons, Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams signed with Titans, it's not like there are many safeties out there that you would like to play alongside Alohi Gilman and kind of allow Derwin James to do whatever he kind of wants or whatever he's schemed up to do. So for now, I feel like they will stick with Derwin James as a safety, but I hope he will kind of emerge as the guy he was in 2021. But really, very nice room. I would say that based on performance, Alvy, Gilman, and Derwin James are much more together than like 3 tiers that I have them in. I am a bit biased towards Derwin James, but if he continues to play like he did last year, I definitely will have to knock him down. And if the same is true for Alvy Gilman, he definitely needs to go up, so it should be just 1 tier as early as like week 3, week 4 that separates these two guys, which is more of what they looked like last season. Now we go towards the cornerback room, and the problem is you just don't have the third piece here. Like Jasir Taylor should be starting, unless like Cam Hart overcome him in the camp, and that's a problem. Like he should not be a starter in the league in terms of quality right now. Pretty much, he doesn't have great draft pedigree. He doesn't have crazy physical upside. He just is out there. He's going to eat snaps. But you just hope he gets benched for someone better, or he imagines being better than he was, but I just don't see that happening. I think he's kind of maxed out. He's ideally your number 5, at best like number 4 piece that if someone goes down for a game, he can step up and he can play, but he should not be a starter, and here he is. Then you have Christian Fulton, who had like really ugly year last season, and that kind of reflects in the terms that he got 1 year prove it type of deal. As you can see, his numbers were really dreadful. Like he played over 650 snaps, had 0 interception, 1 targeted, the pass rating for the quarterbacks was almost 130, and he didn't do much in terms of run defense either. So he really had poor year. I still think he's a capable player, but again, you worry. Like if he is what he was last season, then that makes 2 really weak links in terms of this cornerback room. And then you have Asante Samuel, guy that you would absolutely love as your number 2 option because he's a playmaker, he takes chances, and he sometimes blows coverages. Again, number 1 options, you are not loving him. Like he can stick with them, but more likely than not, he will try to make play, and he will be punished for it. So hopefully they can teach him a bit more discipline. Like, man, we have to rely on. Like, we love that you try to make plays, but we just need you to not bust out because there are 2 other guys that we kind of expect that they might. So you hope that that's what Asante Samuel is going to be. If not, I feel like he is a good starter awaiting to happen in my ranking. So really, this cornerback room is a problem. Though based on names or even like based on my grades, it doesn't look that bad. It actually is worse than these grades are saying because of the fact how I'm thinking about them and where it's like really close to being a tear down for like 2 players, even like 3. Even Jasir Taylor like is more of a close to solid backup rather than closer to decent starter for me. So that concludes the roster rundown for the Chargers, and what is actually the expectation for the Chargers when there is no expectation for the Chargers? Okay, that division is definitely one of the easier in terms of league. You have Broncos, you have Raiders, both teams that you have a huge edge in terms of your QB. So can you win 4 games against them and not call it a huge surprise? Yes, you can. Like I can see that happen. Can you win 1 against Chiefs? Well, let's make it 4-2 against the division as like upside for this team. Let's still be in that like 90% range. And then in terms of rest of the league, like given that you have easier schedule because they've ended up as worst team in this division, Do I see them finish 9-8? Yeah, I think we have long track record of really great quarterbacks being on subpar rosters and just being around that 500 mark. So can Justin Herbert do it? Yeah, I think they can be 9-8. That requires a lot of things to go well though. That requires this cornerback room to not be what they can be. Asante Samuel, guys that gets busted a lot of the time because he tries to make plays. Christian Fulton for what he was this year, and no one emerges to overcome Justin Taylor. And you need some play from those wide receivers. That's just what needs to happen if you should have a chance to be a 9-win team. What's the floor? I think because of Justin Herbert, I just cannot go lower than 6. Because, again, in this division, I think you should at worst win like 2 games with Justin Herbert. Obviously, if he gets injured, that's a different conversation. But Joey Bosa injury, really, you can run on this team. You can keep Justin Herbert on the sideline. And when they kind of overpower the D-line in terms of we try to stop the run, that probably means they are not generating any pass rush, and that's a problem with this secondary. So 6 games, would I be super stoked if it was 5? So this one is really close, whether I say like 4 is 5 or 6. I just feel like Justin Herbert would will this team to win 6 games no matter what. That's kind of what they are right now. In terms of the future, I like their draft, so that's definitely a positive thing. One of the problems is this is the year that you are using Justin Herbert a really low cap hit, like only 20 millions. So in future years, his cap hit is going to be that much higher, like 10 millions per season, more than 50, because you kind of had this year in mind as going for it, and instead of you are blowing things up, obviously like letting go Keenan Allen, letting go Mike Williams. Of course, Corey Linsley injury is and his retirement is also something you kind of didn't envision for 2024. It was supposed to be absolutely different conversations about Chargers. That's why they set up the Justin Herbert contract as it is. But sometimes the things just don't work your way, and that's what happened with Chargers. Do I see Super Bowl in the near future? I think it's going to be incredibly hard for them to even sniff it in like next 3 years, because there's still so many holes. The best players still are kind of getting up there in age, especially Kelly Mack, Joey Bosa. I mean, even Derwin James is not the youngest guy. And there is kind of no certainty or no like absolutely crazy prospect, maybe with the exception of Joey Alt, that you would be like, yeah, give those guys 2 years of play and they are going to be really great. Like it can happen with Vlad McConkey, it can happen with Quentin Johnston, Kimani Vidal, but they are not sure prospects for sure. And also, like their division in 2 years and in 4 years, in 6 years, they will still have Patrick freaking Mahomes. So I think they are on trajectory to rebuild this thing, to try to set up a winning culture. Jim Harbaugh is definitely going to get time, which is, I think, really important. But that's where, again, would I be surprised if in 2 years they are like, well, we are at best going to be like 15 team. Maybe let's try to take a howl for Justin Herbert and do rebuild part 2, because it's just not going anywhere. I would not be shocked. So that's your Chargers. I hope they don't charge it up. I just wish it, because this team has so many players that I like, and I am not a sneaky Chargers fan, like I am true to my Seahawks. But if there's a team that I wish success, it was definitely one of those teams was Chargers, and it was hard to see them struggle and blow incredible leads in the playoffs. So yeah, that's that. So thank you very much for listening and watching. Let me know down in the comment whether you agree, whether you disagree. Should I put an ES next to Justin Herbert, or is amazing starter the right position for him? Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye.